It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today we're going to talk about Immich. If you used Google Photos several years ago and you were using their free plan and it was unlimited storage, and suddenly Google changed the game on you. They said, hey, we're going to start charging you, and it's going to be by gigabyte, or who knows how they're charging these days. And it really kind of threw your world for a loop. Maybe you looked for alternatives. Maybe you switched to a different platform. Maybe you stuck with Google and started paying them, and you've just been trying to find something. There were already lots of options out there, and they were okay. There was Piwego and several others that were fine. I actually tried them at the time to see if I could come up with anything to give you guys some good solutions, and honestly, I just didn't like most of them. They didn't have ways to upload through the web interface was one of the problems that I found. Now, they may these days. I haven't checked them in a while, but a couple, maybe 7 or 8 months after that, I think Immich came out, and it was pretty early on when it first came out. So I thought, well, let me see if this thing really gets traction, and it has. So I wanted to provide this. A lot of you guys probably already use this or know about it. If you haven't tried it, you might want to. It's a really, really nice self-hosted open source photo and video management solution. And I mean, when I say it's got a ton of features, it's got a ton of features. Now, I'm running my version on a NAS, and I've got it set up inside of a little Incus container, and then I've got attached storage so that it can have plenty of space for all my photos, my family's photos and videos. I highly recommend, even if you're using something like Immich, where you have this self-hosted version, you need a really good backup plan. You need a way to try to zip that up and back it up every day to somewhere off-site, somewhere in the cloud if you want to, but you need somewhere besides just in your one storage place, because these are your photos and your memories in a lot of cases. And if you ever have something happen to that, if a drive fails or if something terrible happens, like a fire in your home, God forbid, you have lost all of it. And you just don't want that kind of thing, photos, important documents, to be dependent on a single source. You want those things to be backed up somewhere. So please make sure you do that. But that said, the nice thing is these photos come off of my phone in most cases and just upload straight to Immich. And we'll talk about how all of that works and some of the things that I've found and some things that I'm kind of working through as we go through this. But definitely, I really like this solution. I think it's really great, and I think you're going to like it as well. So we're going to get into the overview of it and how it works and how it looks, and we're also going to get into the how to install it for yourself right after this. I just want to say thank you so much to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Every month you guys come through, you support me, you support this channel, and by doing that you're supporting open source, because I contribute this back to open source, and it just means so much that you want to support the content and keep it coming. So thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. To everybody that does a one-off with a buy me a beer or buy me a coffee at PayPal, man, it just brightens my day when I see those notifications come through. So thank you so much for that. It really means a lot. And there's a lot of times where that just really fixes my day when it hasn't been going great, or maybe it's been going all right, and it just makes it even better. So thank you so very much. And for everybody who subscribes, thank you. That helps the channel grow. It helps YouTube push out this amazing open source software to other people who might be looking for it and not realize it exists. I get new subscribers all the time who say, oh my gosh, how did I not know that all this stuff was out there? So please go down and click on that thumbs up. Make sure to click on the subscriptions and click on the little bell so that you get notifications about new videos. It helps the channel grow, and it just means a ton. All right, now let's get into Immich. So I'm going to jump over into my actual Immich install here, and this is just some pictures that I have, and I've got tons of pictures, and some of these are family pictures and things like that. You can see we've got our cats. So a few years ago we had no pets, and I didn't have any plans to have pets, and we found one stray cat, and she is this beautiful little tuxedo black and white cat here, and we didn't know at the time she was pregnant, and she had 3 of these guys, and then this little white one here had 3 more of these guys. So we now have 7 cats, but they're all fixed now, so no more cats, but they're hilarious. They have their own personalities and awesome. But we get a lot of photos of cats, and I've got photos of family, and I've got photos of all the things we've done in the room for the cats, where they've got places to play, and we do videos with them. And you can just see that this plays videos. I'm just hovering over it. I'm not clicking it. This is just opening a browser tab, and it starts showing us like what's going on with our videos, and we can kind of check things out and see what's happening. You can kind of see these guys love to lay around and be a little bit lazy. It even shows the live photos. So this is really not a video, this is a live photo. So it's really kind of cool and very interesting. But there's so much built into this. So this is just in my photos area here. So this is where it comes to automatically when you load up Immich. Now you also have Explore. So here you can see it's got faces. It's already done face detection. So it's got some smarts built into it to try to figure out different people and find those images of those different people, and just so many different people here. So here's one with me, and it should find photos where I am in the photo. So here I am, even facing the camera there. Here we're lit very differently based on our Christmas light that we did. Here I've got headphones on my head. So you can see all of these different photos where I'm in the background. On this one, I'm down in the bottom corner, and it still found me. So all kinds of really just great features that you would expect out of any photo software in this day and age. It's got it. It's just absolutely amazing. Here's my dad. So this is going to show you pictures of my dad back when he was alive. And it's just amazing how well it does at finding faces and finding the different things out of these photos that you're looking for. Very, very, very cool. So if you go here, you can see a map, and it'll give you kind of geolocations of where photos are taken. Now, most of these photos are going to be accurate. We did have some photos up here, in the northern part of Europe. We've got some across the United States, but if I zoom in, you'll start seeing more photos showing up from different parts of the United States. So you can see a lot of places where I've been and taken photos over the years. So I really have been to all these different places. So yeah, this is pretty great. I've been to Michigan. I've been to New York. I've been over here in these areas for Florida and Alabama and Georgia, and I have been to lots of places in Texas because that's where I live, and probably more places if I really zoom in, so you can kind of see what's going on there. Colorado as well. I've actually been to California, so I guess I don't have any of my California pictures on there. Nevada. I've been to Washington, Oregon. So I've been a lot of places in the U.S. I've been a few places in Europe, but not when I had an actual phone camera that had GPS tracking. So, take that for what it's worth. But I think that's really cool too, that it can kind of geotag your photos and figure out where all you've been in the world and show you where those things happen, and you can go back and remember or see those memories from a geographical place as well. So I don't have anything set up here right now, but then you have favorites. So you can go through and mark favorites. I haven't done that yet, but I eventually will get to that as well. We've got albums. So you've got the Recents album, and that's kind of where we started. I took this picture the other night. So we project our television onto the wall, and my wife and my daughter were sitting there next to each other, and it was creating a shadow, and my wife had the towel on her head from having showered. And this made me think of Mystery Science Theater 3000, so I couldn't help but take a picture of it because it really just kind of cracked me up to see that shadow there. So any of you who know MST 3000, you'll hopefully appreciate that photo. So that's Recents. You can just go back here. It breaks it down into all the videos that you have of different things. And of course, we have lots of videos of our cats. My wife's creating a YouTube channel for our cats videos. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know. I'll send you the link. You can definitely go over there and check it out. She's been working on it pretty hard. She's getting ready to upload a bunch of videos. She'll be doing a little video every day. It's just short, 30 seconds to a minute or less probably. But then you've got portrait photos as well. So it's got all these great portrait photos that you get. So every time we do Christmas, we take photos and videos and all kinds of cool stuff. And I take pictures of the different decorations we've made over the years for all of our different holidays that we put out decorations for, and just tons of family pictures in here, of course, because, there's me when I used to work for a different company. And really, really cool stuff. Then you've got these different utilities. So you can go through and kind of set up different utilities. Review duplicates. I haven't done this yet. There may be some, and they probably look similar because I do take like more than one. So it's up to you to go through and decide, are these the same photo or not the same photo, and kind of figure that out. So pretty great little tool there as well to help you kind of review, like, are these duplicates or not? You have an archive as well. I haven't done anything with the archive yet. And then of course you have the trash. Just in case you trash something, you want to get it back, you can go do that. So the thing I love about this is this is photos. This is me. So I'm logged in. I've got my account. I can go in and set up accounts for my family, and they can each set up this as well. So I've done this for my wife. Her photos go here. I'll do this for my daughter. Eventually her photos will go here, and the same for my mom, and so on, because I do want all their photos in this place, and then I'm going to back this up somewhere else. But you do have a lot of control. So we're going to go in here and let's do administration, so you guys can kind of see what's in the administration settings. I'm going to bring this up a little bit so you can see it, but here's my wife, here's me. These are our two accounts, and of course, like I said, I'll set up other people eventually. There's jobs, so you can say generate thumbnails, so nothing is active, nothing is waiting. You can extract metadata if you want to. You can set up your libraries, you can set up sidecar metadata. All kinds of things. So smart search, duplicate detection, So a lot of really cool stuff to go through in here and kind of check out. I haven't done a lot of this yet just because it's still pretty new to me as well, but I thought, man, this is great. I want to share this with you guys. When you go into settings, so you've got authentication settings, you can set up manage your passwords, OAuth, and other administration settings. So this is pretty great because if you're using an OAuth system, this would be the best way to go. Now you've got OAuth and then you've got password login. Right now I'm just using regular password login, but I am going to get this set up with my OAuth eventually through Authentic. So excited about that one. Backup settings, so managing your database backup settings, very important, so super important, and it does do this, and you see that it's got some settings already, but where you back things up to is just as important as backing things up. So make sure you understand that this is backing up your database. This is your image settings, so manage the quality and resolution of images. Job settings, manage your job concurrency. Metadata settings, external library. So you can set up what they call an external library. So if you have like a big USB drive, like a 4 terabyte drive with all your photos on it, and you want to connect that, you can actually connect that, make sure it's mounted, and then set it up as an external library for Immich as well. Now, it's something that I've not done, so I won't walk through that today, but it's just in the setup for the actual software. Most of the time you can get it set up. You don't have to do it through here. There's logging, so you can check logs if you're having issues, things like that. They've got machine learning. So this is how it kind of does the face detection and stuff like that, which is pretty awesome. It does warn you like, hey, this is going to go out to our site to do some of the machine learning things. And it asks you if you're okay with that. If you're not, you can tell it, no, don't do that. I don't want you sending stuff off to do this. So it does warn you about some of those things as well, which is pretty great. But it's got like smart search, and it's got duplicate detection and facial recognition. So you can kind of see like what's it doing and how is it doing that stuff. Yeah, so I mean, pretty cool. I think this is a really great setup here, and I'm not going to reset it or anything, but it is there for you to check out. So I think that was pretty awesome. Facial recognition, and then all of your machine learning stuff is important for you to understand. But again, as soon as I started this, they warned me, hey, we're about to send some stuff off to another server. If you don't want that, just let us know. It was awesome. Notification settings, so you can set up email notifications and email templates. I really like this part. It's pretty great. Server settings, so again, you can manage your server. If you have an external domain, you could set it up here, but in my case, the way we're going to do it, we'll just use a reverse proxy, and it'll be great the way that we do most things because it's a little bit easier. Storage template, so you can set up some storage templates. I haven't really done anything for this so far, but that exists. You've got theme settings, so if you want to set up your own CSS, you can do that as well, which is pretty nice. Your trash settings, so you can kind of go through and tell it, hey, how long should you keep something before you actually fully delete it. You've got user settings, so you can just set up some basic things for your users. You've got a version check to see are you on the latest version. I probably need to update this. I don't know how long it's been since I've started it, but it's been a few weeks at least, so there may be an update out there. And then video transcoding settings as well, so you can go through and set up your video transcoding and make sure it's doing the things that you want with your videos. Whew, that was a lot. I'm sorry, I'm going fast, but I want you guys to be able to see these things and not have the video take forever. You also have external libraries. We talked about this a while ago. This is something you can set up through the settings there, but if you have external libraries, you can add those here. And then if you want to do some server stats, you can see some pretty interesting stuff here. So right now, photos. I have 4,828 photos. Not a huge number. A lot of people have hundreds of thousands of photos. I'm a person that takes a photo intentionally, and that's just how I work. My videos, I've got 554 videos. A lot of this is like cat videos or little short videos, things like that. My storage space that I'm using 55 gigabytes. I think I've got 3 or 4 terabytes dedicated to this photos album right now. And again, you can see who's using what. So I'm using 4.79 out of 8 gigabytes. Okay, I've got 8 gigabytes. And she's got 31. Oh no, this is 8 gigabytes of photos. Sorry. I don't know. Oh yeah, 55 total gigs. I'm using 8 gigs, and I've given it, I don't remember. It's 3 terabytes, I think. So yeah, so you can see. Now my wife's uploaded, and I'll explain why this is such a small number. She has way more photos than I do. Same way here with the videos, and the same way here with usage. So you can see that I use it a lot more because I've uploaded everything. So I'm going to talk about how that works and how that works with your mobile devices especially, and you'll see why hers is so much lower than mine. All right, so you can go into and say buy Immich, and I just want to talk about this real quick because I do think it's important. I'm zoomed in so far, you can't really read the whole thing, but it's basically supporting the project. So anytime you have open source software that is this good, you should really consider going out there and saying, hey, I find value in this and I want to support this project and keep it going. I want you to continue doing the development. Thank you for doing this. This is how you do that. You go over here and you say, I want to pay for this. Even though you can do it for free, where I'm doing this right now totally for free. This is how you can support it. It's really awesome. So once I've got everybody on here and I'm happy with the way it's working, I'm going to go click this button and I'm going to start supporting Immich. And again, the patrons over at Patreon, they're the ones that help me support all of these projects. It's something that I love to do, but it's something that I couldn't do on my own. So thank you so much for that, everybody. All right, let's go back into regular Immich here, and you can see all the photos that we've got. And I've shown you kind of how all the different libraries work, but this is just such an amazing tool. So what I'm going to show you next is the actual phone application. So I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to start recording the screen. And in my phone, you can see down here in the bottom right here, I've got Immich. So I'm just going to tap on it. And right here immediately, you can see that it comes up and it brings up some pretty great stuff. And it's got a nice view in it. It scrolls very seamlessly. But if I don't want to scroll this way, you can see I've got these little double arrows. I can just grab that and go crazy through time backwards here. So I can go way back to 2016. And you can see here, you know, what was going on in 2016. These are just family photos, all kinds of different things. I can go back to way back here. I mean, just so many photos and so many different things that I've done over the years. But this is all here, but this is also all synced. Now, the phone app is amazing. So you've got search. You can go through and search. So if I search, let's just say cats. It's going to go through and it's going to try to show me things where there may be cats in the background. In this case, they had their cat ears on their face up here in the upper corners there. So it's going to bring me a lot of stuff that it goes, hey, this looks like it might be cats. And it's got people and locations as other filters. But I mean, pretty cool that I can type that in and get back things that actually make sense for what I asked for. If we go here, you've got all kinds of different kind of collections. So you've got selfies, recents, videos, live photos, portrait. I mean, just so many different kind of albums and ways that it's set up your collections, which are pretty great. And then, of course, over here, you've got your just library in general. And we've got this face detection section that we looked at before. You know, we can go through and find faces and photos that have the face that we're looking for in them, which is amazing. I think for something that's self-hosted, absolutely incredible. Here, again, looking at my dad, just amazing that you can do this stuff. We've got the geolocation stuff there. I mean, just so many different things that are built in. So that's your bottom row of tabs. Up here, of course, you've got your account. So you can see my account, you can see my server storage. Oh, 10 terabytes. Okay, yeah, so I put 10 terabytes on this thing, so I've got a lot of space, a lot of overhead to fill up with photos and videos over the years. But my wife uses a lot, so I don't know how much space that'll take up. My daughter does too, because they're much more into photos and videos than me. Now, the big part is when you're on the phone, you want to tap on this little icon, and it's going to warn you, like when you first start up the app, hey, you need to go set up your archiving. And what the archiving is saying, not archiving from the phone, but it's saying, hey, we want to access your photos and we want to ship them over to your storage system, your server, wherever that may be. So you're going to go through here and it's going to say, hey, backup albums, and you can select which things you want to back up. You don't have to back up everything, but it's going to try to detect what albums you have. So definitely when it goes into Immich, before you set up the archiving, you might want to go through and create albums if you're like, I don't want to back up everything. Like my wife takes photos for her business. She doesn't want all those photos over here on the backup storage. So we need to create albums where her photos go versus her personal photos so that we can make sure we're getting the right ones backed up. And it's pretty good about detecting that stuff, but still some fine tuning that you might want to do before you go set this up. Here you can see how many photos I've got. The backup is at 5210 assets. The remainder is 22 assets. I'm not sure why it doesn't do the rest of them, but it says uploading file information. So it shows you a status here of what it's trying to do. And it says background backup is currently running. And it's like you can't start a manual backup. So it's trying to back up in the background already. And this is a feature you can turn on in iOS. And I think you can turn it on in Android as well. The thing I wanted to talk about was on this in iOS. When you're here on this little icon here, the cloud icon on the screen up there at the top, kind of almost to the right next to the user avatar, it'll have a little spinning circle, you know, a little refresher thing that says, hey, I'm actually uploading things right now. And as long as the screen is open, it's going to be trying to sync your stuff to the server. So the first time you run it, it's going to have, in my case, I had 5,500 items to sync. It took about 6 or 7 hours to sync all of that data. And if I left the Wi-Fi, it stopped. It stopped trying to sync. I had to turn it on to allow it to sync over cellular. It's up to you if you want to use your data for that or not, but it had to be foregrounded to continue syncing. iOS in the background intentionally kind of stops things from doing stuff to save on the battery life. That's how you get such incredible battery life out of your iPhone with it being as small as it is that it doesn't allow projects or applications to really run in the background. They can do background tasks. They can every 15 seconds go, hey, I'm going to do something real quick. And they can do it for a couple of seconds and that's it. Or maybe every minute or every 2 minutes or whatever it is. Apple really controls that very tightly. So the first time you're syncing, you need to keep the application open and on this screen for it to sync. If you do this, it doesn't matter that you didn't kill it. It'll run for a few seconds and then it's going to stop syncing. You'll have to open it back up and go back and tell it start syncing again. And you'll have to go here, scroll to the bottom and tell it start the backup. You'll have to tap that button and it'll start going again. If you close out of it again, if you switch tasks, if you switch over to your email, if you switch over to anything else, if you switch over to your home assistant, you're going to have to go back in here for the first major update on iOS. Now, Android, I can't say. I haven't used Android, but I hear Android does backups in the background much better. You'll have to test that. But here, you'll have to go back into the cloud icon up there and hit Start Backup. You just need to leave it sitting open, keep checking it once in a while, or tell it, hey, don't close, don't lock, whatever you need to set on the settings, and let it finish the backup. Now, there are other ways to get your photos over here. You can upload through the browser. So I'm going to stop recording the phone. I'm going to go back to the browser over here. So you can absolutely upload to the browser. So you can see right here is an upload in the upper right. So I'm going to click on upload. And you're going to see it's going to ask me, hey, what photos do you want to upload? So if you have photos available, you can start uploading those. Now, I don't know how many it will do at once. I've seen people online saying, hey, I tried to upload, 3 gigs of photos and it didn't do it, or, 400 gigs of photos and it didn't do it, or, whatever. So it may have limitations as to how many you can do at a time. You'll have to play with that a little bit. I know I did about 30 or 40 photos the other day, just all at once, and it did fine. I mean, it uploaded them with no problem. So it can do it, and you do have the upload through the browser that may be easier. So if you have iCloud backup already, you can go out to iCloud.com, get on your photos, pick a bunch of photos and download. I think like 500 at a time is probably a pretty good number because it zips those up and then it downloads them, and that's a pretty big file. Then you have to unzip them and upload them to here. But it might be easier than waiting for your phone to do it. Just tips for people who want to figure out like, hey, is this going to work for me? Is this going to do what I was wanting it to do? Kind of up to you guys to figure that out. But definitely you can, get these things to work with the upload functionality. Now you do have day and night mode, so I'm going to click this real quick. And that's night mode, so I'm going to turn off this guy, and that's day mode. There's day mode, okay? So it's light mode if you prefer light mode. There it is. And here's night mode if you don't prefer light mode. It's fine. This is a photo of, this is my first by myself, nobody guiding me through it, 3D print where I designed it in a FreeCAD system, and I'll show FreeCAD later in another video. These are things I just downloaded because they were pretty cool, but I did print this little pen holder and stuff like that I give my wife to put on her desk. But yeah, I've been doing some 3D printing. I got my 3D printer last May 2024. This is now February 2025, and I just got it out of the box and actually started doing something with it. Not because I'm just crazy, but because we thought we were going to move, and now we're not. So I was able to get it out and set it up. But yeah, love 3D printing. It's kind of fun. Pretty cool. Let's see. Okay. I get sidetracked. So I've shown you a ton about this, a ton about what you can do with this amazing software. Now I want to show you like how to get it up and running and installed. So I know that's the part that you're really watching for anyways, but I'm sure you wanted to see a little bit about how it works and what you can do with it. And really and truly just an absolutely incredible thing. The way that this functions and the search capability is awesome. I don't know if I can type a name because I don't know if it knows who people are yet. Yeah, so it's finding all the kids. My wife making funny faces. Yeah, there's my wife when she was very young. I did not know her at this time. This is my daughter. That's her middle name as well, what I typed in. So it is finding people by name, which is interesting. So yeah, I don't know how it knows that. That's kind of weird. But there you go. So it's just absolutely crazy what this can do. And so I want to get into it and show you how to do the uploads and everything like that. All right, I've got a blank server set up here that we're going to start with. So we need to install a few different things, but first thing I'm going to do is just add myself as a super user to the system. So right now the only user on the system is root, and you can't even SSH in as root. So we're going to set up a new non-root user, and we're going to give ourselves super user privileges. Now I'm going to do this with the command add user, and then I'm going to give it the username I want. In my case, Brian, you would put in whatever you want. Now this is only going to work on a Ubuntu or Debian based system. They're the ones that use add user. Everybody else uses user add. And then you have to do a few extra steps. But if you're starting off like I am, this is going to be a good place to start. Maybe you already have a non-root user, and that's fine. You can skip ahead a little bit. We're going to hit that. We're going to put in a password for our user, and we want to make sure it's a nice, strong password. And we're going to repeat it here. And then we can fill in this data if we want to, but it's not necessary. And at the end, we can just hit enter. It'll default to yes, and it'll take all of our changes. Now we want to add ourselves to the super user group. And to do that, we're going to do user mod space little or hyphen little a capital G, and then we're going to put in sudo. That's the name of the group we want to be a part of, and then we're going to put in the name of the user, and we could put multiple users with spaces between them here, and they would all get added to the sudo group, but in this case it's just us, so we'll just put in our username for Brian. So it should be user mod hyphen little a capital G sudo and then Brian, and then hit enter, and now we should be part of the super user group. So we can get out of our root shell here, and we can actually log in through a different console. But before we do that, let's just add OpenSSH to our server just to make sure we can SSH in. So let's just do sudo apt update. Let's update our packages. This just goes out, says, hey, give me all of the most recent packages for the system. And then we're going to do sudo apt install OpenSSH-server, and then we'll do a space -y for yes. And that'll install OpenSSH server for us real quick. And it'll start the service up so we can actually just connect through IP address here in a minute. And I'll put it on a different terminal window and make it bigger text. You guys will be able to see it easier. All right, that's done. I'm going to go here and just quit out of this console for the web console here. And let me get the IP address for this dude. Is 32. Okay, we can grab that. That's not going to let me highlight it, but that's okay. So let me open up a new window here for my terminal, and I'll bring it over, and let's just do this, SSH Brian at. That's the IP address of my server. You would put in the IP address of your server, of course. And I'm going to put in my password. There we go. So we are back in our server. Now, my server is a blank container server. It has no tools or anything in it, so I need to add a few things. So I'm going to do sudo apt install, and I'm going to install git curl wget nano open vswitch -switch, which you may not need that one. Don't sweat about that one. I just know this one will need it. And we're going to hit -y at the end here, put in my super user password. It's going to go out and grab those packages real quick. It'll pull everything down, and depending on your internet speed will depend on how long this takes. Depending on your compute power will depend on how long this takes. But you can see it goes pretty quickly. These are pretty lightweight containers most of the time that I start with, so they go pretty fast. All right, we've got all of our tools installed. Now, before you stop this video and leave, because I'm about to say a word that makes a lot of people just give up, please don't. This is going to get installed with Docker, but don't freak out. People hear Docker and they go, oh my gosh, Docker, I hate Docker. Docker is not a bad tool. It is an incredible tool if you'll give it a chance. Docker is just a virtual machine. That's all it is. I can even prove it to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over my server over here that I'm actually running that live image version on that you saw. And you can see I've got it in a folder called Docker image. And I'm going to do Docker PS. And that's going to show you what's running, okay? So this is just the command to say, hey, what machines or what containers do I have running? And here's my image server. So this image server, you can see here's the different column names. They're kind of two rows because I have things named blown up with the text. But if I want to get into this server to do something, I can actually go in there and do things. So I'm going to do Docker. That's just telling it, hey, this is a Docker container, and I want you to execute an interactive terminal, so -it, and I want it to be on this server, image_server, and I want a bin bash shell. And if you see, when I did that, it said, oh, okay, here. So now I'm root inside of this container, and I'm at the user source app directory. Now I can do an ls and see what's in here. This is kind of the home directory of where Immich is running. So this is where you would probably want to be anyways if you're trying to troubleshoot something. But you can see I've got a bin folder and a dist folder, and I've got an sh folder with scripts, and I've got node modules and package locks and everything that you would expect to see if you installed this using node and npm and all the things directly on your metal. So it's exactly the same. It's just a virtual machine that's running an application, and it's made to be very lightweight to run that application. Now if I want to go, I can do cd, and look, I'm back at the root level. Now if I do cd/root or cd/, I can do an ls, and look, I've got all of the normal folders inside of this container that you would expect in a Linux system. You just need to understand this is a bare bones minimum Linux system. The only tool you have for text editing is Vi. You don't have Vim, you don't have Nano, you don't have Emacs, you don't have any of those things unless the developer decided to put those in, which would be crazy because most of the time you use a base image to make it very small on purpose. But you can get in here and do whatever you need to do, just like you would on any Linux system. I just want to encourage you not to give up when somebody says Docker. Docker's not evil. Docker's not bad. Docker's just a virtualization system. That's all it is. Now, I've got Immich running in Docker here. I'm going to move this back off the screen. I'm going to put it back over here so that I can actually access some of the stuff in it, maybe. It'll just make it easier for us all. And what we're going to do is I'm going to first look at .env, and we want to put our env file in here. Now he's got some great instructions, so I'm going to switch back to the browser over here. And out here on this quick start, he's got a really great set of instructions. So he's like, set up your server. Now, if you want to set up your server, here you go. Docker Compose recommended. I recommend it as well. Click that, open it up in a new tab, and you can say, download the required files. He gives you step by step. He's telling you, make a system, make a directory, cd into that. So let's just go do these things step by step because it makes sense. So we're going to do mkdir, and I do -p, docker/image. Now, this says, the -p says, hey, check and see if this folder exists. If it does, use it. If not, create it for me. And then inside of that folder, check and see if this folder exists. And if it does, use it. If not, create it for me. So it does a lot of things all in one, and we're done. Now I can cd into docker/image, and I can do an ls. You see there's nothing there. I can do an ls-a, nothing special there. We need to add some files to this folder. So again, out here in his documentation, and I'll have links to this, but I'll also have show notes that'll walk you through the steps that I'm going through and do it the same way that I'm doing it. But it gives you a really nice, simple, easy wget command for the Docker Compose file. Now you can highlight it. You just click this little copy command right here, go back to your browser or back to your terminal, paste it in, and it's going to go grab that, and it pulls it down, and we can do an ls, and look at that, there's our Docker Compose file. Now we can do nano docker compose.yaml. We can check what all he's got. He's got some notes up here. He's got the name for it is Immich, the services. It's the Immich server is the first one. So we can scroll through here, but now he uses environment variables. So we want to go grab that environment variable file, and we can set that up. The only thing we need to look at here is this port. Now he uses port 2283. This is a very odd port. I don't know if anything else that runs on this port except Immich, so you probably don't need to change this. But if by chance the host machine, not your Docker container, but the machine where Docker is running, runs something listening on port 2283 already, you should change the left side of this mapping to a different port. And you can change it to anything above 8,000 essentially. I would set it to like 8223 or 8283 or something just to kind of keep it close to this number. So just change this first one to an 8. If I can type 8, it'd be great. There we go. 8283, and that's where you would access Immich whenever you get it up and running. It's up to you, but you can probably leave it 2283 in this case. Everything else here is fine. You really don't need to change this. Even when we look at the volumes, We can set our volume mapping locations in just a minute, so we're going to do that. So we'll get all this stuff set, and you won't really have to mess with anything in here other than that port number that I recall. So we'll kind of go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So he does have this model cache. I would just leave that as it is. So we're just going to Control X and say no, don't save any changes because we didn't really want to change anything. So we've got our Docker Compose file. We're going to go back over here. We need to get the env file. So he's telling us, hey, here's an env file. So we can go here. Again, we can just click on the little copy button right here in the corner. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, but click on that guy. We're going to go here and we're going to do nano.env. So that's going to create a new file. We're just going to paste that stuff in that he just gave us. And he gives us some really great instructions on how to fill this out. So our upload location is going to be in the current folder where we have Docker Immich. It's going to create a new one called library. Awesome. In the DB data location, Postgres. Awesome. Now, the one about this library, this is where it's going to put your photos. So you want to have this folder mapped to wherever you want your photos to actually be stored. So if you're trying to put your photos on a NAS and you have a NAS drive mounted at, for instance, let's just say that I set up mine as /mount/photos. This is what I want to put here. I do not want to put ./library. ./library is going to stick it in the same folder where my Immich Docker stuff is going. And if that's a small sized drive, if that's a small place where you don't have a lot of storage, you don't want to use that storage, you want to use a big 10 terabyte NAS storage like I have, you want to set up that storage ahead of time and then mount it and then put the mount point right here. You want to do this before you run it the first time. Believe me, I've done this the hard way. Set this up the first time, have your storage ready, and then know the path, /mount/photos, /mount/image, /mount, whatever you want to call it, / wherever you want to mount it to. It doesn't have to be mount, but just know you need to have that path here, okay? The database, you can leave it alone. Time zone. Feel free to uncomment this and then set it to your time zone. My time zone is America/Chicago. I don't live in Chicago, but I'm in the central time zone, and that is Chicago. The Immich release, just leave it on release is fine. DB password is Postgres. You really need to change this. You need to make this something that's around 32 characters long, using only capital letters, lowercase letters, and 0 through 9. Postgres does not like symbols for some reason, but you can do anything just random, just 8, I say 8 and then I type 7. I'm awesome. GTUBB948. I'm just going to type a bunch of weird letters here, some capital, some lowercase, some mixed. And I'm just going to go crazy and just make it as random as I can get it. And we don't want any spaces and we don't want any symbols. So that's pretty long. Hopefully nobody would guess that. It'd be good. Down here for DB username, Postgres, and DB database name, Immich are both fine. You can leave those alone. So you really just need to change a couple of things. Feel free to set the time zone right here. Definitely go up here and change your photo upload location if you want your photos to be in a larger space that you need to mount somehow. Make sure you're putting them in the right location to start with. Your DB password, make sure to change this to something long and strong, and you are set. We're going to do Control-O to save our changes, Control-X to exit, okay? Now I'm going to get everything ready. All right, if we do an ls-al, we can see now that we've got our Docker Compose file and our .env file. We've set everything up in our env file. We've changed our port in our Docker Compose file if we need to. So now we're going to do Docker Compose pull. And it's going to tell us Docker command not found. We skipped a step. We didn't install Docker. Don't worry, this is easy. We're going to do curl https://get.docker.com space pipe, that's that straight up and down symbol, and then sh, just like this. So curl https get.docker.com pipe sh. Now if you're on a system where this won't work, you may have to install Docker a different way, but I'm going to go let it grab this Docker install. It's going to install Docker and Docker Compose for us, which is great. We're going to get everything up and running here. Now, if you don't have sudo installed on your system, you might need to install sudo as well. It wants to use sudo to do this, so just be aware of that. And it finished, so we're going to clear that out. Now we're going to add our user to the Docker group. So we're going to do a sudo user mod hyphen little a capital G, Docker is the group, and then my username is Brian. So you'll do the same thing except put your username in there. And then we're going to do newgrp and then newgrp Docker. So that's just going to tell it, hey, temporarily let me be the Docker person in the group. I'll log out and back in later. But if you have to, you can just exit and then SSH right back in, and it'll let you be the Docker group. Okay. Now we're going to do Docker compose pull. It's going to go out and it's going to pull down all the things that it needs. It's going to pull down Immich and Postgres and some of the other stuff that it's going to use, and it's going to get everything ready on your system. All right, that pulled down successfully, and if you didn't pay attention, it's about a gig just for the Docker stuff, so be aware of that. It does take up a little bit of space. But now we're going to do Docker compose up-d. We're going to do 2 ampersands, and we're going to put another command, Docker compose logs-f. So what this says is, use Docker compose, bring up my containers, and run them detached or as a daemon in the background so that when I get out of this, it keeps running. Then it says, after that, use Docker compose to help me follow the logs. So that's the logs-f. I want to see them live as things are happening. So we're going to hit enter. It's going to start the containers. You'll see it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff here. Just give it time. It says it's starting the API container. Goes through a bunch of sets. It's doing some things that it needs for logging. So be patient. Just let it run. It's getting some microservices and things like that running. It's double checking everything. Make sure it's all good. Tells us that things are successfully started. That's great. So let's go check out our stuff on the IP address. We'll open this up and we'll go to 192.168.10. I think it was 34. Let me see if I got that right. No. What was our IP address? 32. I was close. Okay, so we'll go to 192.168.10.32:2283. Yes, there we go. So here we are. We're at Immich. We've set up Immich. No problem, right? Now, the next thing we want is, if this is good and you're happy with it, we want to go here and we want to set up a reverse proxy. Now, I use Nginx Proxy Manager. Oops, sorry, hit the microphone. I use Nginx Proxy Manager. If you don't use Nginx Proxy Manager, you'll want to set up something else. So I'm going to go in here and no, that's not the right one. Let me log in. There we go. And I'm going to add a new proxy host here. And we'll just set this up as Immich. Now, I own the domain routemehome.org. And I have an A record for routemehome.org pointed to the server where my Nginx Proxy Manager runs. My server can then reach into my network and point to my private LAN IP addresses. So I'm going to put in 192.168.10.32. And here I'm going to put in 2283. Now, if you changed that port on the left side, you would put whatever port you changed it to. I'm going to say block common exploits, WebSocket support. I'm going to go over to SSL and say request an SSL certificate. I'm going to agree to the terms of service. Now, we're going to come back and check these other ones, but for whatever reason in Nginx Proxy Manager right now, when I click save, it does not keep those selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and save, let it pull the certificate, and then I'll come back in and select them. If it's able to reach your server and get something back on port 80, it's going to give you a certificate for Let's Encrypt, which is awesome. So it should just go away. It won't give us any errors. It'll just kind of disappear off the screen. And it did. Now, if I go here and I search for Immich, there it is. So now I want to go right back in here. It says Let's Encrypt, but we want to make sure that it forces people to the SSL side of it. So we're going to go back to the SSL tab and we're going to click Force SSL, HTTP2, HSTS for both of these, and click Save. And now if we click it, we should get right back to that same Immich page we went to, which is awesome. And here we can click on Get Started. So right here, you're going to put in, you want your admin email. So brian@fixitdelrio.com. And admin password. So whatever you want for your admin password. And then go to the next one and confirm it. And then right here, name Brian. And we'll click on that. And it wants us to log in. And password. And log in. There we go. So let's get yours set up with some common settings. So this is what I like. It says, hey, do you want light or dark mode? So I'm going to undo the dark reader here just so you can see light or dark mode. So if you switch, it'll switch. I'm going to put dark. It's going to tell us the following optional features rely on external services and can be disabled at any time in the administration settings. So the map, this uses external services to go map your stuff. If you don't want it, you can untick it right here, or you can go in the settings later and turn it off. Same way for the version check. The version check goes out to see, is there a new version of Immich available? If you don't want it to do that, again, you can untick it here. You can go change it in the settings. If you want it, leave it on. We're going to go over here to the storage template. It's going to say, okay. When enabled, the feature will auto-organize files based on a user-defined template. Due to stability issues, the feature has been turned off by default. For more information, please see the documentation. So there he's telling you, you can set up your own templates for how it's going to organize your photos, but right now there's some stability issues that you might encounter. It's worth going and reading the documentation if you want to know what those are. So for now, they've defaulted it to off, but if you want that on, you can turn it on. It's up to you. I would just leave it off. I think it did a great job organizing my stuff just the default way. Just click on that and it's ready. So now it's saying, hey, you don't have any photos. Upload some photos. So here you can upload to the browser, or you can go grab the phone app. You're going to start the phone app. You're going to tell it, hey, here's the URL for my system. It's going to ask you to log in. So use your login credentials you just created. And then you're going to be asked, can I access your photos? Yes, allow it. Can I transfer things? Yes, allow it. Can it access other services on your network? Yes, allow it. These are things you need to allow. If you disallow these things, it's not going to function and you're going to be thinking this is broken. It's not. You just didn't allow it to do what it needs to do. Now, if it says, hey, can we share all your data with 1,000 other advertisers? Then you would say, hell no. But other than that, you're good. And it doesn't ask you that, by the way. I'm just giving you an example of why you might say no for something. For all the things it's asking for, you need to say yes. It makes sense why it's asking for those permissions. Once you've got that, you are set up. Immich is ready to go, and you are ready to upload your photos to a place where you control your data, where you control your family's images, where you control all of the things that are sacred and personal to you. And at the same time, you have a really great way to organize those things and enjoy those things. And you can share those things out with other people and share them out with your family. It's really an incredible system. I highly recommend you go check it out. Learn all about it. I have just scratched the surface with you guys today just so you can see what it can do. It is a super capable bit of software and it's amazing. If you love it, don't forget to go support it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the open source journey with us, and I will talk to you next time.